Yo guys, what is up? It's your boy TRUEDBZ back with another video, and today I'm gonna be making a rather unique video, or at least one I haven't done in a very long time. But this is the video first for this game, Granblue Fantasy vs Rising. I really like this character and I'm enjoying her a lot, and there are some gripes I do have with the character that's not particularly like intentional, or at least not that basically, there are some things that I feel like they can change about the character without destroying her fundamentally and, like, design-wise. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. How would I fix Ferry and Granblue Fantasy vs Rising? Now, one of the big things I want to preface this beforehand is I am not a pro player, and I am not the best Ferry player on the planet. Far from it, but I do feel like the things that I'm going to be talking about today are relatively tame in terms of like balancing and stuff like that when it comes to this character, and just making her more in line with like other high power level characters, because this game is very high power level. This video is just to go over some things and changes they could do to Ferry to make her more in line with the rest of the cast, while also not destroying her fundamentally. So I want to keep her strengths and weaknesses relatively the same, but just boost what she does like a little bit more, and also just make more tools in her kit more useful. And that's the main goal of this video. So before I get into what I would change about Ferry, what is she really good and really bad at? So first off, what is she really good at? She's really good at doing Oki. The biggest reason why is because GG. So we have light GG, we have medium GG, and then we have heavy GG. This move is literally like most of her Oki. So if I hit Siegfried here, set up GG, and this is like a 50-50 basically. So if I hit Siegfried here, so this basically setups her high-low mix-up, and as well she can also change sides with using roll. She also has access to this. And then she can do stuff like high-low with her triple attack. So she has ways of using GG for Oki and stuff like that, which is really good for the character. And that's probably the biggest reason why I played Ferry to begin with, just because her Oki and her mix-ups are really good when you knock people down. And I want to keep that the same. The next thing is her really good long-range pokes. So of course we have far medium, we have far heavy, we also have far light. Like, all of her long-range pokes are really, really good. Even at close range, like her close medium is relatively good. Like, it covers a decent amount of distance. So like, her pokes are good. She also has access to her quarter circle forward, which is her whip attack. So she has those. GG is kind of a poke, kinda. Like, you could just set it down and then have the opponent like try to maneuver around GG. So of course, you know, those are a kind of a poke, but not really. And then she also has access to quarter circle back U, which is this right here, which vacuums the opponent inward. So like, you can use this as a way to like get somebody close in and like frame trap them or whatever. So she has really good pokes, and for the most part she can convert off them, even though the damage on them aren't really that high, which is a con, but we're talking about her pros here. So, and then her last major pro is her air mobility, which she has access to her dive kicks. Of course, she has 3 different versions. She has the regular one, the one that you hold back. So this is 4U, this is 5U, and this is 6U. So she has 3 different versions, and she can move around the screen like really fast. Even though these have really high recovery, it's still really good to change your air momentum and really try to mix up your opponent. And then she also has access to this, which is her 7U, and this is her 9U. So she can use this to swing across and then combine this with her dive kick, and then she also has access to her normals as well. So you can hit people in, and you know, she can control the air relatively well, and it's honestly pretty good, especially for people that don't know how to fight Ferry. If you just use this, a lot of the time they'll try to anti-air you, and you can just do that and counter hit them. Or if they just don't know, you can just land safely or just press L to stop them from running in on you. So like, her air mobility is really, really good. Alright, so going on to the cons here. So first is that she has poor defense. So what do I mean by this? Her only DP is her 623U. So this is the only one that's actually invincible. Her heavy version is air unblockable, but it has no invincibility on it. And then her light and medium ones cover different angles, but of course they're blockable, and they come out more slowly than these two versions. So if you're gonna use these versions, light, medium, you know, you can, but you're not gonna get much off of them. And then also they're air blockable, so they can pretty much safely jump in on you, which is why I mostly only use heavy or her U version to anti-air people. And they also cover like really weird angles. Like this one is right above your head, so if your opponent is like a little ways out, this isn't gonna do much. This one covers a little ways ahead of Ferry, so if they're like jumping right on top of you, this is gonna whiff, especially in the corner. If Siegfried is jumping in on me, I can't use medium to like anti-air him because it'll just whiff, so I have to use this. And once again, this isn't air unblockable, so he can just land and punish me for the most part. This one is kind of like the best of both worlds, heavy version. It's air unblockable, and it covers like pretty much the middle. It's not as close as light, but it's also not as far as medium. It's kind of in that sweet spot. And then also, this one's the only one that has invincibility, so her U version is the only one that she can use as an actual DP, and it costs 50 meter to use it. So, you know, not the best defense, but at least she has an option. But, you know, of course with her slow buttons as well, she can't really mash out of things except for like 2L or far light. But in terms of like mashing out of, you know, like poorly constructed block strings, or mashing out of like frame traps or stuff like that, she can't really do much on defense outside of just do DP, run out of the corner, or just try to hit them with 2L when they're trying to dash in on you, or use far light. But that's about it. But going on to another weakness she has is that she has relatively low life. In fact, she might have the lowest life value in the game. I'm not 100% sure, but she has 15,000 health, and I believe the average health pool is 16,000. So it's 1,000 short, but in a game like this where characters are dying off of like every 2 to 3 hits, that life really does start to matter when you start getting into the end game, especially when like you start using your bravery points, and then you start using your supers, and like you're out of meter. Having low health like that does really matter. Like I said, especially when the game is like very high in power levels, so like characters are just killing you just off of one little mistake. So having low health is definitely a weakness, but it's not as bad as the other weaknesses she has. Going on to her anti-airs as one of her cons. So she has a multitude of anti-airs. Of course, she has her DPs here, which are really good at anti-airing people. But of course, the only one that's unblockable is heavy and ultra. But of course, like I said previously, they cover very weird angles. And so if you're not prepared to deal with the very specific angle your opponent is in, it'll whiff and then you'll die. Her next anti-air is her 2H. So this one really only covers the like medium like range of her DP. It's kind of like the same ankle. So it is also air blockable. So if you make your opponent block here, there's not really much they have to worry about. If they block it, you can just like go into this, and that's where the pressure ends basically. So it covers a weird angle. On counter hit, it's really good because you can like set up like really good combos. So you can do stuff like that when you anti-air people, which is really good. But outside of counter hitting with 2H, is really not that great. And this one is one that I added on myself. So all these pros and cons I have taken from the Granblue wiki. And for the most part, all of these are correct about the character, but in Rising specifically, I don't know if this was like this in the original game, but compared to other characters, Ferry's damage is very low. And specifically, one of the biggest reasons for that is because she wants to play in the mid-range, she wants to play around this area, the only thing she can really get out of most situations is something like this. Right, she can only get stuff like this because she hits combo limit very fast, which is another thing. A lot of characters, especially like characters like Siegfried, Narmaya, Gran, Jita, like characters like that, their combo limit, especially when it comes to like heavy starters, like it feels like they hit you for like years, whereas Ferry doesn't really get that much unless she's specifically in the corner, at which point she can get like really good stuff. So like she can get stuff like that. But, you know, even just looking at that combo, if you compare it to like Siegfried's damage, which I know he's kind of like a power type or like a powerhouse character, he's supposed to do high amounts of damage. But even characters like Zoe, she can hit harder than Ferry most of the time, and she's pretty much a similar archetype to Ferry, where she wants to be in the mid range. She has really good Oki, stuff like that. Like her damage is higher. She can unblockable you from like full screen, whereas Ferry can't really do that. So like that does matter when it comes to damage, because the more you can, like, especially for zoner style characters, the ones that want to be at long to like mid range, you want your opponent to feel pressure to go in on you. And one of the biggest ways you do that is do really good damage at this range. And just Ferry just doesn't do that good amount of damage. Like, if you're at that range, you can't combo anything. If you're at this range and you use this one, you don't get anything else after that. If you use Light, because you're just not confident on your like hit confirms, you know, they can fall out like that. And then even if you get like the actual cinematic version, you know, you don't get a combo from it. So her damage is low in most cases. Of course, it's different once she's in. When she does her Oki, you know, her damage is like okay, like it's not great. Like most characters in my experience don't really 50-50 like she does, so it makes sense that like her damage is lower than most characters that mostly just do strike throw or frame traps, whereas this character can literally 50-50, you know, so it makes sense why her damage is low. But in a game like this, like I said, where there's a lot of powerhouse characters like Siegfried, Narmaya, Gran, Jita, like Zeta too, like a lot of characters do a lot of good damage and have the same or better neutral or screen control than Ferry does. And so like, you know, her having low damage is kind of like not that great. So with that said, talking about her pros and cons, like I said, this list that I have here is more so to make her moveset more usable, and then also buff her without getting rid of her weaknesses, because unlike a lot of players in FGC, I like my characters to have some form of weaknesses. I don't want my characters to be top tier and be good in literally every single situation, because honestly I find that boring, to be honest. But I can make a video about that later. But like I said, the goal of this video is to just make her stronger without getting rid of like her weaknesses. I want her like poor defense, poor anti-airs, low damage, all that good stuff to still be a contributing factor to why she, you know, some characters can beat her in a matchup sense, but I just want her moveset to just be more useful. So, the first group is useful changes. These things are not crucial to Ferry. They're just kind of like good quality of life stuff that I think will help her, but they're not like crucial. Like if they were to do a patch and the devs completely took my ideas for what they would do with Ferry, these next changes would be like, you can include them, but it's not a big deal. So, what are my changes that I would put here? So, first off, I want to talk about Far Light, which is this guy right here. So, the buff I would give to Far Light is making it faster on startup. So, as you can see, this move is 8 on startup right now. I would buff it to it being a 7 frames on startup. The reason why is just because like with the addition with 66L or just I don't know if 6XL was in the previous game, but if it was, it's a lot stronger. But with the buffed up 6XL, it's really hard to like counter poke people now. And so having a good mid-range poke like Ferry does just helps keep people away from 6XLing you like mid-screen. Like just having this faster will just help out dealing with 6XL just in general, because that move is really, really good right now. And also, if they wanted to nerf it in any kind of capacity, I would do this. I would actually nerf it to where this move is -6 on block instead of -5. So if I don't cancel into anything like this or cancel into this, my opponent can just hit me just more confidently. A lot of far lights, for especially like brawler characters, are 6 frames or 5 frames, so they'll be able to poke me here. So if this is faster, then you can add more recovery to compensate that. But I think this will be a really good change to deal with 6XL and to keep people from like, you know, doing like full screen lariats and stuff like that. So this is a good quality of life change. The next buff I would give Ferry is to her 2H. I would change it so this is faster on startup. I would make it 12 frames instead of 14 frames. Like I said, she has poor anti-airs, but this is more so just a quality of life thing. The dead angles that it has, like above her head and below her, are still a thing. I'm not changing the hitboxes on it, but making it slightly faster will just make it a little bit easier to anti-air people. Especially since most of the time people just, or at least Ferry players for the most part, just use her DPs as anti-airs. Nobody really goes for 2H. So I just want this move to be of more use. So making it slightly faster would just go a long way of just making this move more useful. But like I said, it still doesn't cover like the dead angles it has like right beneath Ferry or like right over her head. So just making it a little bit faster will just give her a good quality of life buff there. Next up is her 236L, which is this move right here. So what I would do to this move is buff it to being at -7 on block instead of -10. Originally I was gonna say -5 because at that point most characters they can press on you, but they can't punish you. But as you can see, it being -10, literally every character can use their medium to hit me, and it would be counted as a punish and not a counter hit. So I would change this to -7. That way, it still keeps the punish aspect of it. So if I'm like at this range, right, and somebody wanted to do like far medium, right, for the most part, I would get hit. But like around this range, like this range right here, like people can't just dash up and hit me, because I'm pretty sure a lot of characters can just run up 6XL me at this range. So just giving it a little bit more frame advantage, just a little bit, will just go a little ways of making this more usable. Which, I mean, every Ferry uses this move, especially at like this range. So like most characters can't punish it, even though it is -10. But like I'm more so talking about like right here, like around the mid range here. This is where this move becomes a problem, and you can't really end your block string safely because this move doesn't go as far. So being able to just use this as a way to like chip your opponent, or just have another way of just like getting away from your opponent and just having them not like completely nuke you when you use it, it's just like, yeah. Alright, the last change I would do to Ferry has to do with GG. So all versions of GG, light version, medium version, heavy version, and ultra version. So the thing I would do to GG is make GG stay on the screen even if you block. Not on hit. If you get hit, GG goes away. But if you block, GG stays on screen, because the biggest thing about me when it comes to zoning with Ferry, I want to use like a variety of my skills, right? Like using my whip, using GG, controlling space with like her long range buttons. And the biggest thing that I've always run into is like characters just running in, 6XLing me. And most of the time when this happens, GG is already on screen. And so the idea here is that whenever I have like, especially like light GG, whenever someone like runs up on me, if they're not fully aware of GG's current position and they just start going ham while I'm blocking, they'll get counter hit and I can run up and hit them. So it's kind of like a pseudo combo breaker, but like once again, it really depends on which GG you're using. So for example, if you're using GG from like this far away, it really doesn't matter, because if like your opponent throws a projectile, especially like Siegfried or Gran, where their fireballs is big enough to where it can hit them, like it really won't matter. But like in the corner, something like this, or like using like EXGG and they're like right in front of you, like using it as a pseudo combo breaker would just help out Ferry's neutral just in general, because now they have to actually worry about GG and whether or not they want to run up, especially since all the GGs except for this one are not active until they do their attack. So HGG is not active until they do that attack. When you first throw out Ferry in this arc here, she is active, but when they get to like the later half of the angle and when they hit the ground, GG is not active. So you can just run past GG. So this would just create more, I would say, like make your opponent more wary of running up in on you, because like if you're, especially like if you do this and you run up and do this, if they run up 6-6-LU, your opponent runs up 6-6-LU and you block it, now they have to worry about, okay, do I dodge Ferry and punish the Ferry player for like trying to like hit afterwards, or do I just sit there and block GG and have the Ferry begin their pressure, or do I roll GG and try to hit Ferry from behind? So like it creates more mind games when it comes to like Ferry's neutral, and so I think this would just be a really good buff to GG neutral, especially in general, because like I said, most Ferries just use like this move, her buttons, and like whenever they throw out GG, it's kind of like, yeah, it's on screen, but like most characters can just like throw a fireball, destroy it, or just run straight past it. So giving GG the ability to stay on screen even if Ferry is blocking will just help out just using this move in neutral just in general. Alright, now we're getting to the real stuff. So these are the things that I think the character actually really needs to be good in this game. Now, not everything on here is going to be like a straight up banger. I don't expect everybody to agree with this list, but I do think every single one of these changes accomplishes the goal of making her moveset usable, but not like getting rid of her weaknesses. Like I said, I want to keep those intact here. So the first change I would make is to her close medium, which is this move right here. So the thing I would do to this move is making it faster, making it 6 frames instead of 7 frames. And the biggest reason for that is the existence of this move. If you guys don't know, Ferry cannot combo into her 6-6-L without the opponent being in counter hit state or them crouching. So I'm going to set them to block after they get hit. As you can see, this doesn't work. No matter how many times I mash the button, this does not work. Now, this works on counter hit, as you can see. And it also works if they're crouching, as you can see. But literally every other character, especially with characters like Siegfried, for example, which is why I have him on here, even though his close medium is 7 frames, so he can't combo into his 6-6-L. He has this move, his far light, which is 6 frames. So this does combo into 6-6-L. So he has an option that even though it's a light starter, and so his confirms isn't that great, I'm pretty sure he can only get like something like this, or he can get some sort of combo, like using Raging Strike or something. At least he has an opportunity to actually truly combo into a 6-6-L. And that makes his 6-6-L even more scary, because now you have to worry about, okay, if I get hit at any point, he's gonna combo me. And not like Ferry, where if you get hit by 6-6-L, you don't really have to worry about it, because especially if you're stand blocking her, because most of Ferry's, like, she has a good 2L low and she has 2U. But if you're just low blocking her and just stand up when these moves aren't in the way, like, you can just stand block her. So most of the time people are stand blocking Ferry for the most part, and so you don't have to worry about 6-6L because, you know, it doesn't combo. So just overall, make this 6 frames so you can combo into it. And just kind of also a minor buff as well. Her close medium is her anti-air, like I said before. So it being faster will also help her anti-air, even though it doesn't cover the dead angles, just like with her 2H. Her dead angles in this one being immediately over her head or a little ways away from her, because at that point you get far medium and not close medium. So, you know, you can counterplay this move as an anti-air, so that doesn't change. But just making it 1 frame faster will just help deal with this 6-6L situations. Next up on the list has to deal with her 5U, which is this one. So what I would do to change this move is causes a wall bounce on counter hit. So as you can see, this hit 15 times, and on counter hit, it doesn't wall bounce, so you can't get any sort of combo. As you can see, no combos at all. So on counter hit, I would give it a wall bounce so you can confirm off of it. Even if it's a small wall bounce to where you can only get her close light, that'll be fine. It doesn't need the wall bounce to where you can just get up like a full heavy. Just enough to where you can just at least confirm off of it into like maybe do like light into DP or light into like Raging Strike or whatever. Just something, right? The next thing I would do to this move is increase the chip damage. So it does okay chip damage, is not a lot, so I would just increase it just a tad bit, not to where like it's chunking their health, right? Like, I don't need it to be doing like 10% chip or some crazy like that. Just add a couple, you know, a couple more hit points of chip, just a little bit, just to make this move more threatening on block. And then the last thing I would change about this move is increase the meter you gain from it while on hit. So on block, she gets 17 bars of 17 meter. On hit, she gets 15, I believe. No, she gets 18. So she gets 18 on hit, and that's counter hit. So on regular hit, I'm pretty sure it's the same. Oh yeah, I was dashing up. So yeah, she gets 17. She gets 17 meter on all hits. On hit and on block. Oh, it is 15. Okay, I was right. I was right the whole time. 15. So on hit, she gets like 15 to 17 meter. On counter hit, it's exactly the same. So it's around the 15 to 17 range. So, like I said, just being just a more threat on counter hit. So if you get hit by it, like on counter hit, she'll be able to gain more meter, so she can start using this move, or start using like this move, or just using her ultimate and supers and stuff like that. So just overall quality of life stuff. I never see this move being used by any Ferry player, so just giving this a use, it's just like that's the goal. I want this move to be used and to not be a dead move in her kit, because you can use it as a frame trap. If I set the opponents to block and they start mashing on me, I could do something like this, but like, because like, you know, you don't really get anything off of it, like it doesn't cause a wall bounce, you're not that plus after they get hit, you're plus 23, so like, you know, it's not terrible, but like not a lot either. So like, you know, there's ways of using it. You know, you can use it, like I said, as a way to like frame trap people. So like if you're in a corner, it wall bounces. Now they have a reason to actually take this instead of just like, you know, oh, if I get hit, oh, it's not that big a deal, you know? So just add more viability to this move. Alright, so the next thing on my list has to do with 236 medium, which is this move right here. So the thing I would change about this move is being able to hold the projectile longer. Basically being able to choose when you throw it out. The reason why I have Zeta here is because she has that ability. So if I do cortical forward medium, she can throw the projectile right away, but if you hold medium, she can delay where you throw it. So basically the concept is still the same. The reason why this exists for Zeta, or at least the way that I know of, is to catch people that are trying to dodge or roll it, and also to catch people that are trying to jump it. So by changing your timing, you're also changing the way your opponent deals with you in neutral. And so the same would go for Ferry. If she was able to hold this down, you would change how they dodge roll you, how they spot dodge you, how they jump over you. And so it would just make it a little bit more harder for your opponent to get in on you. And of course, if you get hit by it, you get a full combo as Ferry and you can set up into your Oki. But like I said, the concept is the same for these two moves. Basically, the goal is to like change the timing of your opponent rolling, spot dodging, or jumping at you, just so they're paying more attention in neutral against the character. Next has to do with this move, cortical forward heavy. So the change I would make to this move is making it faster, buff it to being at 15 frames on startup instead of 20. The reason for this is just because being only able to do this on counter hit is really annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Only being able to confirm into this on counter hit is really annoying, especially because characters have spot dodge, roll, stuff like that. It's like really hard to know when you're gonna counter hit somebody, unless you're just doing this to where regardless of counter hit or regular hit, you get a combo and a knockdown. Now the reason why I say 15 is because her light version is 15. So making the frames better or just similar to heavy would just go far in a way of making her neutral and her long push that much more threatening, because not only do you have the threat of this now just being more consistent, but you also get this, just more damage, and you have more time to run up. So just overall, just make this easy to confirm into and just have Ferry be more threatening in the mid-range instead of like only worrying about this when you get hit, you know, being able to just combo it just like that, and just overall just quality of life. But this move is just so integral to her neutral, so I think just making it faster will just go far in a way of making her neutral just way scarier for people. And also, if you want to nerf it in any way just to compensate for being able to combo this like anywhere on screen, then you can get rid of the fact that it is plus on block. So it is +2, but Ferry already has this move, so it is plus, so you can just use this, which most Ferry players do use, as a way to keep her turn. So if you want to nerf this to being like -1, -3, or whatever, I opt for making it 0 on block. But if you want to go the route of making it, honestly, even if you want to match it to it being like -7, like the light version, like that's fine too. But just being able to confirm into this just anywhere at any time just goes far and away just better. Next up is her 6/6 heavy, which is this move right here. So what I would do is, the first thing I would do is delay the attack until Ferry crosses up. So as you can see, Ferry, the active hitbox for this move activates as soon as Ferry flips over. So the only thing you have to worry about is nothing, because this move is not threatening in the least. It doesn't count as a cross up, it's not an overhead, it's not a low. This move is really useless outside of like very specific combos that you would never use. So delaying the attack till after she crosses up would make this move a cross up attack, and so you would have to use the block button or manually time your block to block it correctly. And then with, you know, GG on screen, this will just be a much stronger cross up mix up, because now not only do you have low, you have high, you have roll here as a way to cross up, but you also have this move as a way of crossing up. And of course, the addition of ground bounce as well, on hit as well, would go far and away, because as it stands right now, even if you hit that move with GG on screen, it doesn't combo. So I would also add it being able to ground bounce on hit. So as you can see there, it ground bounces on hit, on counter hit, but it does not do it on regular hit. So, you know, just being able to confirm off GG would just make this move a lot better. And then the only thing I would nerf about this move, just to compensate for it being a true cross-up move, is I would make this move -7 on block. So basically any far lights or close lights or whatever the move you use can punish this if you do it raw or mistime it with GG. So there's a risk reward to using it now, instead of it just basically being useless. So it is -3. I would make it -7 to compensate for it being an actual cross-up move. So, alright, the final change I would do to Ferry has to do with her install. So, let's get into it. So her install, what I would do to this install. First off, I would increase her movement speed, so now she gets to move faster. To what extent, I don't know. I was thinking more on like the Grand Jita level, because I'm pretty sure their run speeds are pretty in line with like most of the cast. So like I don't want her to be running like Seox, right? But just overall, just make her run speed just faster, because this will go into another change later on. But just her being a mid-range zoner, just her having better movement speed, just being able to dash up and just do this more. And because she has reverse speed, she'll be able to like do stuff like that. So increase her movement speed would just make her more threatening in mid-range, because she can just dash up and then do stuff like that. Alright, the next change I would do to this install is kind of a, not really a buff, but like more of a revert, is I would get rid of the 20% scaling of this super. Now, I did say that low damage is one of her cons, and I'm not trying to get rid of her cons as a way of buffing the character. But I said that when she was in her normal state. She has low damage, or at least low damage compared to most of the cast, just normally. Just off of her regular pokes, like her regular combos. Like her combos don't really do that good amount of damage when you consider like all the brawler characters and stuff like that. So giving her a damage debuff just makes her damage way worse. And I get why they did it, because you know she has reverse speed. She can combo off her instant overhead in this, right? So they don't want her to be like doing major damage, which I guess for like the previous game, if like the damage cap of the last game was lower, I guess it makes sense. But in this version of the game, where characters like Zeta, Nier, Seox, Siegfried, Gran, Jita, Duel, like all these characters are doing major damage for basically hitting you once. Whereas Ferry is kind of like, oh, I poke you here and there. I have to hit you like 4 to 5 times in order to kill you. Where characters like, even characters like Zoe has higher damage caps. 2B, who basically runs the around the same range as Ferry. Like she wants to be the mid-range to the close range. She kind of runs in that area. Her damage is way higher than Ferry. Characters also like Jita also likes being in the mid-range to close range, and she does a ton of damage. So just getting rid of this damage nerf just makes this super way more valuable, because now it actually works as a buffing mechanism and not a nerfing mechanism. Because by doing the super, you're effectively weakening yourself, because even though you get reverse beat, you're not doing any damage. So like if you hit your opponent, they're not taking any meaningful damage, so you practically just wasted 100 bar, and you can still get mix-ups if you do this. If your opponent blocks his super, you can still mix them up. So this move basically doesn't have a function, because she can't do the damage that her regular self does. And other install characters like Vera have higher damage when she installs. So like, and her install is an anti-air. So like, there are just other characters with just better installs that actually buff the character, whereas hers, yeah, she gets a reverse beat, but they actively add a debuff to the character. Unlike other characters where they do have installs, they just add to their kit, not take away. And I feel like getting rid of the 20% damage scaling, especially in this game, like I said, the damage cap is higher than the previous game. So, yeah, just getting rid of that would just do so much. Alright, so the last change I would do to Ferry's install is actually nothing to do with the move itself, but rather another move, which is this one. Her core circle forward U. So what I would do is that if you hit this move, she instantly goes into her install. So, the idea behind this comes from this character right here, Vera. She has two ways of getting to her install. She has her super, just regular, just pop it, now you're in it. But she also has the benefit of using a command grab. And now she's in it. And she gets the exact same buffs. She gets like her feint here. She has her air dash. She gets everything. The super is the same. Her I should say her install is the same. The only difference is the method in which you get it. One is for free, and then the other you have to use meter. Whereas Ferry, the only way she can enter this state is by using 100 meter. Now, of course, I'm not saying she should get install off this. You still have to use meter. You have to use 50% of your meter to get into this install. But it's still an alternative way of getting it, because then you can do something like this. And now you did your combo, now you're buffed up, now you have your increased movement speed, so now you can just run up 50-50 into like her dive kick, and then you can, by the time you finish your combo, you have a GG set up, and since your damage isn't nerfed, then basically the next hit after that you kill your opponent. So that's the idea. Being able to just poke from mid to long range, now you're in your install, you have the increased movement speed, so now you could run up even faster and set up your 50-50. You can throw out GG, and once again, because you have increased movement speed, you'll be able to run behind GG or just run up on the person in general and just start your pressure. So all this kind of works together. The reason why I thought about adding this to this move is because of this. At far range, you get 58 frames to run up and pressure your opponent, right? But in most cases, most of the time, the only thing you can do to melee your opponent is use your far normals. You can't actually run up and begin pressure with heavy because they're just not on the ground long enough. As you can see, I tried to run up and close heavy, but I got mashed out. You don't have to respect it, right? At least on her good starters. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work on her light either. Yeah, you try to run up close light, it just doesn't work. So the only thing that she can do is run up and try to frame trap with her far normals, or try to use 2U. Which it does hard knockdowns. So if you hard knockdown, you can toss out GG for Oki, right? You still have that option. But not being able to just run up and then close heavy to start your pressure is not that good. So the idea is twofold. Once again, you have the ability to enter her install with less meter, so it makes it more consistent and more has a more viable way of being used, just like Vera. But once again, because of her increased movement speed, she'll be able to run up faster and start her actual Oki, which is this move. So those changes kind of work in tandem with each other, which is why I really hope they do this. This change to her super is her most important one. If they don't do anything else but on this list, but they take into consideration her install, and they do something similar to this, even if they don't follow anything else on this list, just making her secondary super just actually usable and like make it like rewarding to use would go so far in making this character so much better. So that's all I have to say about Ferry. So overall, this character has a lot of downsides, like a lot of them, but nothing that's unmanageable. She's definitely really good in the situations that she cooks. Like, you can guys look on my streams and videos where if my opponent doesn't know how to fight Ferry, or I just get that right hit, it's just over for them. So she does have some really good strong things about her. It's just that the stuff that's weak about her are really, really weak. And most of it is intentional, but some of it just needs a little bit of tweaking to where it still has counterplay, but it's just a lot better for the character. So hopefully I came across in this video not wanting to just overly buff my character and make her just the best character in the game, but just relatively good quality of life buffs and just making her game plan just more reliable and just better suited for this game, because this game is way more rushed down and way more high damaging, and she just kind of feels like she's playing the old Granblue. So these changes are just more so in line with this current version of the game. So with that said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion video. If you guys have any recommendations or things you would change about my list about Ferry, please be sure to comment them down below. And make sure to hit that like button for more Ferry content, because I'm still not giving up on the character no matter what. So if you guys want to see me play Ferry more, please subscribe to the channel. And be sure to like this video as well, so I can start doing these more character breakdown guides, wish list things more often, because I really did enjoy recording this video. So if you guys want to see more content, be sure to support me. And that's going to be it for today. So with that being said, guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Sayonara.